The US military presence in Australia is set to rise significantly. Shortly, 250 Marines will arrive in the top end to spend half a year here every year. In time, that force will swell to 2,500. US planes will have greater access to our air bases and more US ships will be visiting the West Coast. And Australian officials are talking to their US counterparts about using the remote Cocos Islands as a base for long-range spy planes. All of this is being closely watched in Beijing, as political editor Heather Hewitt reports.
We regard an enhanced presence by the United States in the Asia-Pacific region as a force for peace, as a force for stability, and a force for prosperity.
But just how far are we prepared to go when the United States calls on us for cooperation? Are the idyllic Cocos Islands, Australian territory in the Indian Ocean, fair game for a joint Australian-US military airbase that could enable drone spy flights across the region?
We should always, when we're asked to do something, say, well, we'll think about it constructively, but what's in it for us? And we'll need to look at all the implications for us.
It makes sense with our major alliance partner in the region doing surveillance that it gives us a greater capacity to share surveillance information and therefore have a much greater return on our surveillance investment.
I think China is getting a signal that Australia is one of the US allies that is tightening its alliance relationship with the United States. It's not the only one. Japan, Korea have also tightened their security relationships with the US.
I think China is also watching this event very closely. China hopes that the US would give China an explanation too. I think any kind of military arrangement, new military arrangement, I think every country in the region should be informed.
The debate today was off and running despite the Defence Minister Stephen Smith's efforts to hose down the Cocos Islands as an option about to be implemented any time soon.
I haven't had a detailed discussion about the nature of access, either naval or aerial, or the detail of any proposals or suggestions. It is very much down the track. It is not one of our three current orders of priority.
Those priorities were settled when President Obama visited late last year, and it was announced that US Marines would be rotated out of Darwin. As well, the US Air Force would make greater use of Australian air bases in Northern Australia, and its Navy would have greater access to HMAS Sterling in Western Australia. And while a joint Cocos Islands base may be a long way down the track, 730 understands the plan is being discussed and worked on at a very senior military-to-military level.
It's interesting that the minister's able to say that if it goes ahead, it would require a $100 million upgrade to the airfield, to an infrastructure to enable it to go ahead. So someone has gone to the point of appraising the infrastructure and costing the upgrades that would be required. So it sounds to me this is more than a back-of-the-envelope sort of idea. It's more than a thought bubble.
Does it also look as though we are doing America's bidding, do you think?
I don't think so. Everybody recognises that the US is our closest alliance partner. We're already doing surveillance in that area anyway, so this is an adjunct to what we're doing.
Central to the debate is whether this is really all about the United States' concerns about the rise of China.
Developments in Chinese weaponry really have started to get the Americans wondering about the safety of their operations along the western Pacific coasts. No longer are they able with impunity to sail through the Taiwan Straits or through the South China Sea in the complete comfort of knowledge that there is no one who has the capacities to attack their naval assets.
However we view it, the US will position it as being part of keeping an eye on what China's up to in Southeast Asia. And perceptions are important. We don't want to get drawn into what looks to China like containment by stealth.
One advisor to the Chinese government thinks that's how it will be interpreted there in some quarters.
Some people are bound to be worried, especially people who are, in charge of China's defense. If the missions, hypothetically, are targeted against China, then China has a reason to be worried.
How important is it that we keep up a strong defence relationship with the US ahead of our trade and diplomatic relations with China?
I think it's a balance. I mean, the economy is absolutely fundamental to what we do here, but our defence relationship underpins everything we do.
Well, thank you, Jason, for
It's a balancing act the government faces at almost every turn these days. For example, this morning the Treasurer addressed the Australian-China Business Council in Melbourne, talking up the new Asia century.
Australia stands right at the centre of a transformative, defining shift that will shape the 21st century.
But everyone there was conscious of the government's decision to black ban the Chinese technology giant Huawei from national broadband network supply contracts after security warnings from ASIO.
Well, I don't comment, and neither previous government commented on intelligence matters, and I don't propose to do anything other than not comment on intelligence matters. I think we've got a broad relationship. I don't accept the characterisation of it damaging that relationship.
What sort of signal does that send to other big Chinese companies?
It's a bit difficult to estimate the impact of that, not knowing the precise background. But if I look at the year just gone by, there were more than 70 plus investments and transactions between China and Australia. I just don't think that trend will change. And every now and then you might have an investment that will take longer to consummate. I'm not sure we've seen the end of that story yet.
I think it sends a signal that Australia is wary, that it welcomes Chinese investment, but it is going to watch it very closely. It is not open slather for the investment of China, or for that matter any other country in the world.
The Chinese business community here politely points to a massive increase in Chinese investments in Australia over the past 5 years and sees that trend continuing. But it would like Australia to show greater interest in China.
Look, absolutely, I think we have work to be done there, but can I say that if you look at the engagement between Australia and China over the last 12 months, it's at a government and a business level, I think it's unprecedented.
President Obama is...
The test for the government is how it keeps that up, while at the same time balancing the demands of its powerful ally, the United States.
Political editor Heather Hewitt.